What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast, and this is the Total Takedown Thursday for UFC Vegas 24. We are talking totals here. We already broke down the entire card, start to finish. You know who I think is going to win and who I think is going to lose. You know the few bets that I've made here on this card. But if you're wondering what we think of, how long is this going to last? Is it going to go over 1.5 rounds? Is it going to go under 2.5 rounds? We're going to break down the entire card from that perspective for you right here, right now. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button, share the video out there for your fellow degenerates, and make sure you subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio Live. Head on over to our sister site, the main site that will be back up and running in just a couple of weeks. The main channel, Pub Sports Radio. Subscribe there too, because everyone's going to move back over there once we get reactivated. So here we go. First fight of the night, we're talking Tony Gravely taking on Anthony Berczyk, and this is a fight that I am totally twisted on for the total. Total here set at 2.5 rounds. The over is plus 125. The under is minus 145, minus 150. Now, Tony Gravely, this dude wrestles his face off. He just personifies embrace the grind. That's what he does. He's got pop in his punches, big heavy hands. He's got a decent submission game, but he's a wrestler first. And what that does for me is it makes me question everything. I really thought that Tony was going to win this fight inside the distance. His opponent, Anthony Berczyk, I'm not convinced that he is UFC caliber. I don't think that he belongs here, and we just saw him get absolutely handled by a lesser opponent in his last fight. He's going to get this fight, and then he's going to get the boot. He will no longer be with the UFC. Tony should just be able to run through this guy, but does Tony finish him? I don't know if he does. Tony Gravely is the kind of guy that will just embarrass his opponent. He will grind. He will do exactly what it takes to win the fight, and because of that, I don't know we can trust him for a finish. Now, Berczyk is not durable whatsoever. We've seen him get absolutely demolished on the feet and on the ground. So the style of Tony Gravely helps an over. The durability of Berczyk helps an under. The finishing ability of Tony, if that's what he wants, helps the under. I kind of got to lean towards the under 2.5 here, but I also have this feeling that Tony Gravely is just going to do what he does and wrestle this guy's face off for 15 minutes and cash that over ticket. So I wouldn't suggest betting this one. I'm going to say under 2.5. I'm going to say Tony Gravely by knockout or TKO, but I'm definitely not putting my money there. Next up, we've got a women's bantamweight fight. Sarafaras dos Santos taking on Josine Nunez. Couple of women here going to war. We've got a total once again set at 2.5. The over is minus 145. The under is plus 125. And this is a spot where Sarafaras, she just has a problem with the ground game, right? Anytime she's on the feet, anytime she's standing, she's pretty slick on the feet. She's never had a problem with another striker. Nunez is coming in here first UFC fight, big heavy hands. She crowds her opponent, comes in hard, looking to land big power shots, doesn't really do much in the way of grappling herself. These two women should stand and bang. And even though this is a women's fight, they're saying that it's still going to go over. I'm sorry, they're saying that it's pretty even going over, going under. We usually see minus 250, minus 300. The bookmakers understand what these two are capable of on the feet, and they're going to open holes and opportunities for each other. As scary as it sounds, I would look at the under. Plus 125, it's not quite juicy enough for me to actually go ahead and pull the trigger, but I can absolutely see one of these women landing an absolute bomb on the other one, because they are not the most technical strikers in the division, but they definitely hit hard for the women's weight class. Next up, we got a lightweight fight. Austin Hubbard taking on Dakota Bush. Thankfully, Dakota Bush is stepping up here on short notice so that our guy, Austin Hubbard, can stick around on the card. Total set at 2.5 here. The over 2.5, minus 175. The under 2.5 is plus 150. And I think that this is another one of those sneaky ones that's going to land right on that line. Dakota Bush, he's a strong wrestler. He's got a good submission game. But we have seen from Austin Hubbard's career, that's what this guy knows how to handle. All he does is scramble. He's the one rare exception to the rule. He's the guy that he tires you out from trying to take him down, as opposed to getting tired defending takedowns. And then he cranks up the intensity in the second and the third round. He's got a chance to win this thing in the third round because he just never stops coming. He hurts people late in fights, and you have to bank 2 rounds convincingly to have a chance against him. And then you also have to hang on for dear life in that third when he's just getting started because you're tired and slowing down. His opponent, Dakota Bush, coming in here on short notice. Taking a short notice fight, we got to wonder what kind of condition is he in? What kind of cardio does he have? How's he going to look on the scale? We will check that out tomorrow. So make sure you come back here for that post-weigh-in video, the undefeated post-weigh-in video. But basically, I think the round 3 sprinkle for Austin Hubbard is live here the way it always is. One of my favorite spots to take, but I don't know if he actually finishes Dakota Bush, and if he does finish him, I don't know if it's going to be in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So I'm going to lean with this fight going over, more than likely hitting the judges' scorecards, because that's just how Austin Hubbard fights, and unless his opponent breaks, which could happen, I don't think it happens inside the distance. I don't see Dakota Bush being able to control Hubbard and submit Hubbard, where others have failed that are much higher caliber, much more proven fighters have failed to do that. And if Bush does beat Austin Hubbard, I expect it to be grappling heavy. I expect him to be on top, taking the back, riding out these positions, that kind of thing, to where it's going to make it go over and get to the judges' scorecard. So I don't like the minus 175, but I do think this fight goes over. Next up, we got a middleweight fight. Bartos Babinski taking on Gerald GM3 Meerschaert. I've been so back and forth on this fight. I keep ping-ponging back and forth on this one. Very confusing to me. Bartos Babinski, just grind grappler. That's all this guy does. He doesn't have much else to his name. He's not a hard power hitter. He doesn't have submissions. He just wrestles. Gerald Meerschaert, back against the wall, needs to get the win. He's got some slick, savvy submissions, but he has next to no takedown defense, willing to accept bottom and play off his back. So it's going to come down to, is GM3 going to catch the submission, or is Bartos Babinski going to be able to stay safe, keep his neck, and grind this thing out for 15 minutes? I'm going to say Bartos gets it done. I'm going to say that Bartos manages to grind this thing the whole way, and there is some slight chance that Gerald Meerschaert uses his boxing, defends some takedowns, stays at range. We've seen him do that a couple of times before. I don't have any faith in him actually defending the takedowns, but if Bartos does happen to tire, or he gets one or two shucked off late, then maybe Gerald can land some stuff on the feet and extend this thing. The over 2.5, both guys can potentially win the fight. You don't have to worry about picking a side there. Minus 135 for over 2.5 sounds fair. If I'm going to take the under 2.5, I would much rather play Gerald Meerschaert by submission. You're going to get a better line, and realistically, that's about the only way this fight goes under. So next up, we've got a women's strawweight fight. Jessica Pena taking on Lupita Godinez. Now, Lupita is brand new to the UFC. She is making her debut, and she is entrenched as a massive favorite here over Pena, who we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Classic women's fight here. Over 2.5, minus 325. Under 2.5 is plus 265, and this is more what I'm talking about. These are the women's lines that I am used to seeing. Now, this is another spot where, remember, I'm always looking for two fighters to help me cash that under or cash that over. We've got to have both people contributing to our angle. Jessica Pena, more than likely an over fighter. She is a fighter who likes to stay at range, likes to play the outside, keep it technical, keep it slow. Lupita, she comes in winging heavies. This is a girl that's going to look for the finish. She's going to look to hurt her opponent. So one cash is the over, one cash is the under. This is a spot where I kind of feel Lupita is going to win this fight. Obviously, she's a massive favorite. That sounds stupid after I said it. But I think she's going to win this fight. And with the layoff of Jessica Pena, we don't know what kind of shape she's in. We don't know what kind of condition she's in. We don't know if maybe she's a little gun shy. She doesn't want to get hit anymore. A young gun full of piss and vinegar coming after her and hitting her with everything she's got. She may want to curl up at the end of the fight. So there's a chance this under hits. You're getting the right number for it. Plus 265. That sounds good. But again, we're only getting one fighter cashing that. I don't think Jessica Pena has a path to finishing this fight. Don't take the under. Take Lupita inside the distance if that's what you're looking to do. Otherwise, this is an over fight, and minus 325 is way too expensive for my blood. This is a complete pass, but I'm going to say over ever so slightly, and maybe a third round finish for Lupita. Next up, we got a heavyweight fight. Alexander Romanov taking on Juan Espinoza, the big boys. And again, I'm just baffled that this fight is on the undercard. This fight is so good. I can't wait for this one. Total here set at 1.5 for the big boys. The over 1.5 is minus 125. The under 1.5 is plus 105. We know heavyweights can be sneaky and squeeze over that 1.5 round sometimes. It happens a lot here in the UFC. And with both these guys being wrestle-heavy fighters, I kind of expect that to be the case. Both of them have been absolutely able to manhandle their opponents, and that's been able to win them their fights. They get in a dominant position, and it's either ground and pound or submission for them to get the dang thing done. But both these guys are so high level. Both these guys are such physical monsters. I don't know if one's going to be able to body the other like that. If they do, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep them there. I don't expect either Alexander Romanov or Juan Espino to just shell up and turtle up and be stuck on their back for 3 minutes and tap out when their opponent starts to put a little little pressure on them. These guys are better than that. These guys are higher level than that. So I think this fight's going over. I think it's going to make it over that 1.5, but something to look at that is just a little bit different. Not something I do often. I'm going to shout out my boy Locker Room. You may know him, Mills, from the Pub Sports Radio live shows. Pay a little extra juice and do fight starts round 2. It's about minus 175, the fight just starting round 2. I think that's a much safer play. I don't know what's going to happen after round 1. And those first 2.5 minutes, they may get sketchy. So if you're a little bit more risk adverse, take the fight starts round 2. It's a higher price tag, but I think that one cashes. The over 1.5, I do think that cashes. It's minus 125. It's a little bit more affordable. Either way, I do think this one is going to get into the later rounds. Next up, to finish out the preliminary card, Tracy Cortez takes on Justine Quiche. And what we've got is Tracy Cortez, a fighter who is just really powerful and strong, going down to a new weight class, taking on Justine Quiche, who is someone who is incredibly hard to finish. Justine Quiche is tough. She's durable. She's gritty. She's nasty. She's in every single fight that she's in, but she has a hard time with the takedowns, and she doesn't do much off of her back. Tracy Cortez, big, strong wrestler. Her striking is coming along. It's not quite there yet. She's very hittable, but she's tough and durable and hasn't dropped or gone down yet because of that. So I expect grappling from Cortez. I expect Quiche to hang around. I don't know that Quiche is going to be able to hurt Cortez on the feet. And if she does, I think Cortez panic wrestles and gets her to the floor. This one's going over. Total set at 2.5. Over is minus 345. Under is plus 285. And I'm going to say this thing slides over. Again, you don't need to worry about who gets it done. Justine Quiche could maybe steal this one if she's able to defend a takedown or two and steal rounds 2 and 3, something like that. But I expect Cortez more often than not is going to grind her way to a victory. So again, another over, but not a price tag that I'm interested in. Main card time. Light heavyweight fight, Luis Pena taking on Alex Munoz. Another fight where we've got an interesting dynamic here. So Munoz is a strong, powerful wrestler. Comes out of Team Alpha Male, taking on Luis Pena, who is also a solid wrestler, but he's tall, he's skinny, and he's got that jiu-jitsu game. He's willing to play off of his back. Now, he's training with good guys. He's training with elite-level talent, like, Dustin Poirier, stuff like that. So I expect Pena to kind of turn a corner here, maybe hit Luis Pena 2.0 in this spot. But is he going to be able to defend the takedowns of a guy like Munoz, who's got that high-level chain wrestling, grappling style technique? I'm not sure. And because of that, I'm not sure who's going to end up winning it. But I do think this fight's going over. It's another one where we've got a chalky top line here. Over 2.5 is minus 215. Under 2.5 is plus 178, plus 175, something along those lines. So the under 2.5 is taking a little bit of money, but again, this is a spot where I don't see anybody but Pena finishing. Munoz isn't a huge submission threat, even though he's got some pop in his punches. We don't see Pena get rocked or knocked out or hurt or anything like that. And at this level, we haven't seen Alex Munoz show the ability to knock anybody out. Pena's got a slick submission game on him. If he gets on your back, he absolutely can submit you. But I'm only seeing one fighter who's going to finish this thing. So again, if you're looking for the under, take Pena by submission. I don't know that it ends really any other way. Otherwise, these guys grind it out. It gets over. And I think the over 2.5 at minus 215. Chalky, but I definitely think that's the way it goes. Middleweight fight here, we've got Abdul Razak Alhassan taking on Jacob Malcom. Now, if there was ever a fight from a totals perspective that I just want to sprint and run away from, it's this one. Abdul Razak Alhassan has been super, super disappointing recently, but he's had a lot going on in his personal life, well documented what's going on outside the cage. Jacob Malcom, a guy that we really don't think is UFC caliber, brought in to lose to Phil Hawes, got cracked his last time out. This is probably it for him. He either wins or he's out of the UFC here in this spot. Abdul Razak Alhassan moving up a weight class because he missed weight a couple of times, taking on Malcom, who's just a big, big dude. I mean, he's not massive for the division, but he's bigger than Abdul Razak is, and Razak was not an oversized guy previously either. So there's two ways this can go. Either Abdul Razak Alhassan got his shit together and he can come out here and crack Malcom early and put him away, which we've seen happen before, or he's going to shit the bed again. He's another massive favorite. We see him being minus 300 every dang time because we know what this guy's capable of when he's on point. But when he's not on point, when his brain is elsewhere, when he hasn't been training hard, when the other stuff is getting to him, he's not the same guy. And if he doesn't show up on point here, Jacob Malkoun is that kind of tanky fighter who might just be able to grind him out. Pin the smaller guy up against the fence, maybe take him down, put him on his back. If you get Abdulrazak Alhassan out of that first round, he's not the same guy. He doesn't have the same power, and he more than likely isn't going to get that finish for you. So total set at 1.5. The over is plus 110, so you can get plus money on the over. The under is minus 130. The bookies are expecting Razak Alhassan. They're expecting him early. I'm kind of expecting the same thing. I think he does have a little bit of a rebirth here. I think he does have a little bit of a get right in this spot, but I also want to see the weigh-ins. I want to see what Malkoun looks like next to him. I want to see that size difference, because that's going to factor. If Malkoun is huge and he can manage to take 1 or 2 shots from this guy, if he can mind his P's and Q's, if he can pin Abdulrazak up against the cage really quick and in a hurry to start this fight, then he probably grinds him out, and we get that over 1.5 to cash. We get that over money. So again, not touching this one. Don't touch it whatsoever by any means, because this could go either way, and we have no clue who is going to show up and how either of these guys is going to show up. So total pass from me. I'm going to lean with the under 1.5 because I do think Abdulrazak gets right here, but very, very terrified with that prediction. Heavyweight fight up next. Andrei Arlovski taking on Chase Sherman. Total here set at 2.5. The over 2.5 is minus 155, and it has been taking money. The under 2.5 is plus 135, and I'm just sitting and waiting. I'm just sitting and watching. This is the one total on the card that really jumped out at me, and I'm very interested in this under 2.5. Chase Sherman is a guy that just popped for steroids. He looked the best he's ever looked his last time out, beating up an absolute trash can. But this guy comes forward, he plows into his opponents, and he hits hard. Heavy, heavy leg kicks, looking for shots on the feet, gets caught, gets rocked, has no regard for defensive striking whatsoever. It's your chin versus his, it's his output versus yours, and that's all he does. He goes to war every single time. Andrei Arlovski, this guy's taken a risk-averse approach to fighting in his recent couple of years in his career, because he knows he's getting towards the end. He's an older guy. He doesn't need to chin check himself. He just looks to out-finesse these guys. Well, taking on a guy like Chase Sherman, that's not going to be much of an option. Chase is going to force the issue. Chase is not going to sit back and get into a technical leg-kicking fight with Andrei Arlovski. He's going to run into a big punch and pay for it, or he's going to run through the old man and put him in the ground. I'm expecting a battle here. I'm expecting a war, and one way or the other, one of these guys is going to hurt the other one. Andrei Arlovski still has some big power in his hands when he wants to, and I think if he has an opportunity to counter Chase Sherman, he will put Chase down, because Chase does not have a good chin. That helps our under, and the offensive prowess of Chase Sherman, when he's landing big old bombs, he hurts people, and that helps our under on the Arlovski side. Arlovski is 43 years old. Eventually that durability is going to go, especially if you've got a big, hungry, juiced-up fighter like Chase Sherman coming for you. I'm going to say the under 2.5, and I like getting that plus money. Andrei Arlovski could finesse this guy, could work him to a decision, but I'm kind of expecting more of a firefight than we've seen from Andrei in recent years. He thought he was going to get cut his last fight out for losing, so I think he's going to be desperate to get this win here, and I think that helps us as well. Co-main event time, lightweight fight between Jeremy Stephens taking on Drakkar Klose. Jeremy Stephens, an absolute monster at 145, coming up an extra 10 pounds. We talked about how that could help and hurt him. The power could be better coming back up to 155, but will it translate because his opponents are that much bigger? It could help his durability. He'll have some more water weight. He won't be cutting. He'll have some more water in the head. So the 155 move for Jeremy late in his career might be good as long as he's not handling elite level talent. Now, Drakkar Klose, I've been on record a couple of weeks now saying that I feel like this is a lost man. I feel like he's lost his way, but now he's had a couple of weeks to settle in with his new gym. Maybe that gets him in a groove. Maybe he starts rolling with his new coaches and his training partners and feels good about himself, and catching him off guard that last time out was really my play. Now that he's gotten settled in, I don't know that I'm so interested in that anymore. He's going to be the slightly bigger fighter here, but he's a decision machine. This guy slows down the pace, and the one time he got into a firefight, he got knocked out. So I don't know that he's going to come out here and try and push the pace with Jeremy Stephens. I expect that Jeremy Stephens, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. He's going to do what he does. He's going to come forward, leg kick, force the action, force the fight, and I don't think Drakkar Klose is necessarily going to stand his ground and fire back. I think he gets back to his point fighting. I think he gets back to his point striking, his grappling, his clinch control, putting him up against the fence, bullying the smaller man around the cage. If he does that, I think Drakkar Klose has a good chance of actually winning this fight, and then I think we've got a good chance of cashing an over bet because he'll extend Jeremy Stephens late. So I think with the total here set at 2.5, over minus 150, under plus 130, Man, both these guys coming off of a knockout loss. That's another angle where we've seen be really successful here, is that you don't want to lose your next fight. You don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to have that knockout loss sensation again. So you fight a little safer. If Jeremy Stephens is a little bit hesitant on the trigger finger, if he's more willing to be a little more technical so that he doesn't eat that big punch again, that helps us extend. If Jakar Close is looking to get back in the win column, he's not looking to go out there and do anything crazy. He just wants to get by this guy. He doesn't want to get hit by one of these big bombs from a known legendary heavy puncher. He's going to grind him. He's going to put him up against the fence. He's going to slow him down. He's going to play the outside. So if these guys are trading leg kicks and trading clinch control time, I think that sets up for a nice over. The minus 150 to the over 2.5, not a bad look in my spot. I like that one, and that's one I'm actually considering playing myself. Main event time, we've got Kelvin Gastelum taking on Robert the Reaper Whittaker. I don't need to tell you about these two guys. They've been around for a long time. Both of them are big fan favorites. We know all about them. Whittaker is a guy that's extremely well-rounded. Kelvin Gastelum, fast hands, aggressive, except more often recently, he's been going to the grappling. He has not been looking for the firefights that he used to force. He wants to finesse his opponents. He doesn't really want to get hit anymore. And I think that this is another spot where the stakes are high. Neither of these guys wants to lose. Both these guys have been hurt. Both these guys have been clipped and knocked out. Neither one of them is looking for a run and gun. They're both looking to just get that W and rematch Israel Adesanya for the title. So I think this is potentially going to be a bit more of a chess match. I think they're going to respect each other's power. I think there's going to be some clinch work. I think Kelvin Gastelum may even look for the takedown again. We know Robert is fully capable of wrestling. He's been in there with a guy like Yoel Romero. And even though Whittaker's chin has been just a little bit dinged up recently, Kelvin Gastelum is a guy that you just don't knock out. And I know he's adverse to getting hit right now, but we've seen him submitted lately. We haven't seen him get knocked out. So I think the durability is still there for Kelvin Gastelum. I think Robert Whittaker has the ability to shift gears, dig deep, be a champion, and even when he gets hurt, keep on fighting. And I think we're going to get this over here. I know it's a main event fight. I know it's 5 rounds, and that sounds crazy for two guys of this caliber to go that deep. But I'm kind of feeling the over 4.5 here. The 4.5 is set at minus 135 to the over. The under is plus 115. And I wouldn't hate anybody saying they feel like there's going to be a finish here because the caliber of fighters these guys are. But we've seen Whittaker get to the judges' scorecards with Yoel Romero multiple times. Like, this guy has taken all the heat in the world and been able to get through it. And Israel Adesanya is the only guy that managed to go ahead and sever him from his consciousness. Kelvin Gastelum, same thing on his side. He went 25 minutes with Izzy, and he didn't go down in that absolute war. And ever since then, we've seen him not really looking for a war. So I think this is going to be a bit more technical. I think it's going to be a bit more grindy, and I do think it's going to go late. If I'm making a bet on this one, I'm looking over 4.5 at minus 135. That's the total takedown, folks. Again, thank you very much for the love and support here at Pub Sports Radio. Smash that like for me. Share the video out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Good luck on all your degenerate action, and let's roll.